Very bright again. Die down, die down. So today I wanted to teach you how to make a healthy Hayashi rice. What is healthy? What is Hayashi rice? So Hayashi rice is a Japanese Western style rice that's pretty much just like, it's supposed to be like a beef red wine sauce over rice. And of course, you know, the Japanese have added their touch in, and it makes it like a really kind of super addictive type of like sauce over your rice. You know, the Japanese have a lot of like the curry cubes, the curry roux cubes, that you can just make this like really easily. And so I think a lot of people know about the Japanese curry cubes, but these are actually how I discovered it originally, was buying one of these Hayashi rice cubes and then quickly adding, you know, some vegetables, some protein of your choice, and then putting that over rice. But that has a ton of salt in it, that has a ton of oil in it. What does healthy mean? Is we're going really towards that direction of cooking these days, because I need to be eating the foods that I cook, and I just need it to be healthier. So we're taking out the oil for this one, and you can change the salt as you wish. And we're just going pretty much whole food, plant-based, head on as much as possible now. First things first is to just talk about your substitution. Sorry, that was a lot of sun. Pretty much the protein of your choice is up to you. You want to go more whole food, plant-based, go with, you know, some firm pressed tofu, go with tempeh, go with beans, just having beans instead of, you know, like beef crumbles. The other thing that you can do, because this is more of like hashed beef type thing, is you can go ahead and just use these little sheets of seitan, or little sheets of soy protein. So I think in the plant-based community, there's a little bit of wiggle room here. I think most people accept tofu to be, you know, whole food, and I think, you know, some people, they're okay with seitan, they're okay with like TVP and all of that jazz. So as much or as, you know, whatever that you want. But I thought we would use something like this today so that it's more adjacent to the real thing. Wine. So this is a red wine beef type sauce. Interestingly though, the Japanese have a version where they'll use sake instead. So the color is a little bit lighter, and I think like the flavor is, you know, a little bit lighter as well. Red wine is nice because it provides a little bit of acidity, but, you know, kind of that that tannin bitterness adds to something like a protein like beef. When you think about substituting for something like red wine, and you go online, people will recommend, you know, different vegetable juices, like a tomato juice, maybe just watered down. People recommend pomegranate juice, which I think because pomegranates also have a little bit of that like tannin, that bitterness to it, might be a good one. Just water it down a little bit. Some people will just use like a vegetable stock, but as with any substitution, if you're gonna be smart about it, have a little taste of, you know, what does red wine taste like? And, you know, you just really want to mimic it. Red wine does, it has that like depth, that kind of bitterness to it that I think is very, very reminiscent of yeast extract. I think you add a little bit of citrus and then yeast extract and just water that down. You're gonna get something, you know, similar to red wine. But again, keep it easy for yourself. Like water down some, you know, tomato juice, or like water down some pomegranate juice, and I think that that'll work just fine for color. And then if not, you know, just go with veggie stock. I think that that'll be good as well. So yeah, let's prepare some of the vegetables. I think original recipes had people using shimeji mushrooms, but then eventually it was just button mushrooms. Make it easy for yourselves. I'm gonna be using the Nakano knives again, so I'll put links in the description. They were just nice enough to send it to me, and it turned out to be really nice knives, so. so just really quickly, I'm gonna rehydrate the seitan strips with just some like vegetable bouillon powder, and then I'm going to put in just a little bit of the Meridian yeast extract because like it's only 2 people. Put in a little bit more yeast extract. This has absorbed all of the juices. Okay, if you need to speed it up, you can actually put it over the stove, add a little bit more water, and just start boiling it, and then this process happens a lot quicker, because otherwise these take a while to rehydrate. Treat it a little bit like maybe beef slices, so you can cut it on a bias. So I have a cup of a veggie broth here, and to that I'm going to add a half a teaspoon, pretty liberal, of the yeast extract. So keeping in mind that this one doesn't have salt in it, so if you're going to use the Marmite one, I mean, you might want to consider using a lot less because that one's so salty. Get this all dissolved. Okay, so now we're gonna start sauteing the onions with some water. And this is a technique that I do all the time. If you're looking to cook healthier, take away the oil, because even like a teaspoon of oil, it really damages how your like arteries contract and dilate and all of that good stuff. So you can read about it, but essentially you can caramelize things and you can bring color to things just fine with some water. It's not as fun to cook with just because you don't really hear the sizzle. There's usually a lot of steam, but essentially what you do is some water, whatever you're going to brown or caramelize, and then you wait until that water evaporates, a little bit of color develops, and to not get it to burn, you just continually put a little bit more water in, cook it off, put a little bit more water in until you get that desired color, until you get that desired flavor. Just caramelize this first. So you can either do it with broth or you can just do it with straight water. So right when the onions are somewhat done, I'm going to add in, the Japanese like adding in a little bit of butter at the beginning and actually at the end. And I think just a little bit of cashew butter works really well here because cashews are sweet, but then you're going to toast them up a little bit here. And so that's going to get nice and fragrant as well. Our beef. And then just toasting up the beef a little bit. I'm also going to add in our mushrooms. And just cook that down a little bit. I think normally with the nut butter, it should thicken it enough already, but we're gonna go in with just a little bit of buckwheat flour, and that'll thicken up the sauce at the end. Kind of like a whole food option to just cornstarch or to just flour. Your red wine or whatever your substitute. Add in some ketchup. Worcestershire sauce. Decaf coffee. And then finally, the stock we made. A nice stir. At this time, you want to just give it a try. Does it need yeah, depending on the stock that you use, you might need to add, you know, a little bit more salt. You can choose to do it with miso. That tastes very, very good. I think what I'm going to do is I have a little bit of the shoyu koji that we made last month, and it's just kind of more of like a whole food option to soy sauce, but you can again use salt, use pepper. I'm just going to add in a little bit of that. It'll thicken it up some more and then give it some nice flavor from both the koji, which is a little bit sweet, a little bit sake-esque, and then also obviously salty from the tamari, from the soy sauce. So good. So yeah, I've cooked down the sauce for about 2 to 3 minutes now, and so it is thicker like this. And you need to taste it too, because the flavors obviously consolidate some more. So taste it, make sure that everything is right. You know, does it need salt? Does it need sugar? Does it need maybe a little bit of vinegar or acid or, you know, black pepper? I think this is perfect. So you can use rice, but I thought I would just do it with some buckwheat. And buckwheat is nice because it cooks really quickly. You just have to not overdo it because it can get quite soft. So. Mushrooms. A little bit of parsley flakes.